Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important and frankly most dangerous strategic spots on the entire planet. It's a tiny stretch of water that has a huge impact on everything from the price you pay at the pump to the stability of the entire global economy. We're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. So, let me just start with a question for you. If you had to guess, what do you think is the single most critical, most important 21-mile stretch of water anywhere on Earth? Well, the answer is the Strait of Hormuz. Now, it might not be a name you hear every day, but believe me, this narrow waterway is absolutely vital to how our modern world works. To really get why it's such a big deal, you have to think of it like this. It's basically the world's energy artery. So geographically, it's pretty straightforward. The strait is this narrow channel that connects the Persian Gulf to the open seas, and it's squeezed right between Iran on one side and Oman and the UAE on the other. But that simple geography is exactly what makes it so incredibly important. Now get ready for a staggering number. Every single day, about 21 million barrels of oil and other petroleum products pass through this one little strait. I mean, just think about that for a second. To put that into perspective, that's almost 20% of all the oil the entire world uses in a single day. A full 1/5 of the global oil supply gets funneled through this one tiny choke point. It's just wild. And you've got some of the biggest oil producers on the planet depending on this route. We're talking about countries like Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, even Iran itself. This is their main highway to get their energy out to the rest of the world. And, whenever you concentrate that much economic power into such a tiny physical space, well, conflict is almost inevitable. Which brings us to the tense standoff that defines this region. On one side, you've got Iran. They control the entire northern coast, and they have, more than once, threatened to just shut the whole strait down. And on the other side, you have the United States and its allies. Their whole mission there is to make sure that doesn't happen, to guarantee freedom of navigation, and to keep a major naval presence in the area to protect these shipping lanes. And look, this isn't just some hypothetical tension. It gets very real very fast. In just the last few years, we've seen oil tankers get seized. We've seen drone attacks on facilities, and even direct face-to-face confrontations between navies. The risk that something could go wrong, that someone could make a mistake, is just incredibly high. And all these little incidents, they're not happening in a bubble. They're all part of this much bigger, tangled web of instability in the Middle East, involving Iran, Israel, and Western countries. Any blow-up in that wider conflict could easily make the Strait of Hormuz ground zero. So what all of this has created is an incredibly tense and very, very fragile standoff. And hey, don't just take my word for it. There's a real consensus among geopolitical experts. They consistently point to the Strait of Hormuz as one of the absolute most dangerous places on Earth, a spot where a regional fight could become a global crisis in the blink of an eye. So let's be crystal clear about this. The Strait of Hormuz is not just some far-off waterway. It is the very heart of our global energy security, and its stability is directly tied to the health of the entire world economy. Which brings us to the really big question, the global consequences. Why does a fight over there matter to every single one of us, no matter where we live? So let's just game this out for a second. What would actually happen if this vital waterway got blocked, even for just a few days? Well, the fallout would be instant, and it would be severe. You'd see a massive ripple effect. First, you'd have an immediate global energy crisis, because 1/5 of the world's oil supply would just vanish from the market. That, in turn, would cause oil and gas prices everywhere to skyrocket, and the economic shockwaves from that would disrupt trade all over the world and could easily tip us into a global recession. So here's the bottom line. The Strait of Hormuz is so much more than just a line on a map. It's a critical, fragile link in our global system, and a major crisis there wouldn't just shake the Middle East, it would shake the foundations of the entire world economy. And that is why this tiny 21-mile stretch of water is one of the most important and most dangerous places on Earth.